Alrighty, so today I'm going to be drawing with my brand new Japanese calligraphy pen for the first time. This brand new pen right here, to be precise. But what is this pen? Well, I'll be frank with you, I don't know a lot of information about it. I took a photo of the packaging and I did a Google image search to find out more information on this pen. And I was not able to find much. And so I also plugged in the product code for this pen. The product code for this pen is CFF-200CE. As we can see right there, I plugged that in as well. And I, once again, was not really able to find much information. Now, I was able to find a little. I found a Japanese blog post from 2012, and I found out through that blog post and its included images that this pen has been on market for, well, 12 years now at the minimum because, well, the blog post is from 2012. That's 12 years ago now as of recording this video. So this pen has been on market in Japan for, well, around about 12 years at least. I also know that they've been using the exact same packaging for the last 12 years as well. And through that blog post, I also found out that this pen is available at Japanese 100 yen stores. I did a little bit more research after finding the blog post, and I found this pen available on some Japanese websites, but on none of those websites did they actually say what brand this pen was a part of, until I found one that supposedly says that this brand is the Saiga brand. I think Seiga. Might be a mistranslation with Google Translate, though, frankly put, because, well, in all honesty, I don't know how to read Japanese. So, I don't really know what brand this pen is actually a part of. I know it's been on the market for 12 years now at a minimum. I know they've been using the same packaging for the last 12 years at a minimum. And I know that it's, or at least was, available at Japanese 100 yen stores. And it's quite possible, almost certain, that this pen is just a generic, sort of no-name pen. That's just a calligraphy pen from 100 yen stores that you just pick up for really cheap, for 100 yen and everything like that kind of thing. And from what I can tell, it's part of the Saiga brand, but I really don't know much about this pen, frankly put. There are no reviews online about this pen in the English sphere of the internet. There are also very little reviews in general, only one I could find on the Japanese sphere of the internet, and even for websites selling this online, I only found two websites selling this pen online, and both of the websites advertised this as being a cheap 100 yen calligraphy pen. Yep, I really don't know much about this pen, frankly put, but honestly, that makes me all the more excited to give it a go and to let you guys know what I think of it. To say the least, I am looking forward to trying out this pen for the first time. I'm looking forward to, excuse me, had to burp. I'm looking forward to letting you guys know what I think of it. I'm looking forward to finding out how it draws, how it writes, and everything like that. And I'm looking forward to going into the packaging. I'm looking forward to giving this pen a little bit of a full review in today's video. And I'm looking forward to, of course, also, just drawing with it for the first time. But before I go ahead and get the pen all out of the packaging, I first off want to go over the packaging. So let's go ahead and start off with that. We can see that this pen is just in a single pack. It's just got clear plastic right here with some colored plastic kind of going all the way around it to some extent at least. At the very top right here, we could see there's some Japanese text right there. Don't know what that says. I don't know how to read Japanese, and while I did translate that with Google Translate before this video, I don't remember what it says. We can see it just says CFF-200CE right there, all in white. Then we can see there's like a black and red streak going down, just like that, maybe trying to look like it's calligraphy or something like that kind of thing. Then we can see right here, there's some more Japanese text right there. I cannot remember what that says. I think that says like soft brush pen or something like that kind of thing. I can't remember exactly what it says. We can see there's a lot more Japanese going all the way down, just like that. Then there's some more right there. There's also some little sort of like fence-like area or fence-like design right here, some black drop shadow. And then there's some more Japanese right there. There's a little bit of a pen tip right there, so you know that this is actually a pen. And then there's some more text right there, some more text right there, and some more text right there. And then there's just like a little bit of a Z right there. And then some more of that like sort of like fence-looking thing, sort of design right there, I definitely have to say. I think one of the parts of this text says like ideal for writing on like soft paper or bags or something like that kind of thing. I think I saw that, but do take what I say with a grain of salt, because I cannot remember exactly what Google Translate translated the front of the packaging to saying, in all honesty. But what I will say is that the green background and the sort of black with the red and the white with the red and all of the text on this packaging itself really did a very good job of catching my attention. I bought this pen at a $2.89 store in Toronto at the Pacific Mall, at the Pacific Mall, which is like an Asian mall in Toronto. And I was just looking in one of their stores, and I saw they had a sort of like stationery section, and I saw this there, and I was like, oh, this looks interesting. It definitely caught my eye due to the background and everything like that kind of thing. And I mean, like, yeah, I ended up buying it, frankly put. But, you know, I'd have to say this packaging as a whole, in my personal opinion, is definitely a little bit more eye-catching than not. It definitely looks a little bit cheaper than not, if you ask me. At least there's no actual real brand name on the packaging, from what I can tell, at least, unlike with, like, let's say a zebra. It says zebra right there. Unlike with, like, let's say a Kurtok. It says Kurtok right there. Unlike with something like, let's say, another zebra. It has zebra right there. It doesn't say that anywhere on this packaging, which is another reason why I do think this is just a basic, generic Japanese calligraphy pen. But, you know, as a whole, the packaging looks a little bit cheaper than that, but it also does a very good job of being eye-catching and doing a good job of just kind of selling you on the pen to begin with. But that's pretty much all there is to the front of the packaging. Overall, not a bad look one bit, if you ask me at least. Let's go ahead and flip it over just like that. We can see the back is a little bit more basic than not. We can see some more text up here. Don't know what that says, in all honesty. We can see it just says CFF-200CE right there, and then some more text after that. Just a little bit of a barcode right there. And then under all of this, there's some more information down here. And then there's like a telephone number if you want to call them. And then like there's their post office box. I could have actually looked up the post office box and found out what the location is and everything like that kind of thing. But actually, I didn't think to do that. It's too late now. I'm already recording the video. We can see there's a little bit of a thing right here saying how to throw this away and whatnot. But you know, the back of the packaging is pretty much just basic sort of, it's just the back of the packaging kind of thing. It's just informational and everything like that. We can see it does say Japan right there, but it does not actually say made in Japan. In fact, I actually don't know where this was made, although it does say Japan right there, but who knows where it was actually made. But I think that's pretty much all there was to the packaging overall. If you ask me, at least the packaging looks a little bit better than not. I'm going to go and grab myself a little bit of a screenshot for the thumbnail of the video, just real quick. Just grab myself a little bit of a thumbnail. You know, got to do it to him, got to do it to him. Just like that. Hopefully that will do for the thumbnail. We will find out. But I do suppose without further ado, now that I've covered the packaging and now that I've said that I like the packaging a little bit more so than I think it's time for me to go ahead, get this all opened up, and it's time for me to go and actually take a look at what this cheap, generic Japanese calligraphy pen actually looks like, and what it feels like, and what the quality of it is like, and just how it feels in hand and whatnot. How do I actually get this opened up? I thought you just opened it like that, but no. Oh, nope, you do. Okay. Just get it out. Just like that, if I possibly can. And let's go and just fold that back over, just so I've got the packaging, just like that. And let's go ahead and just hold this in my hand. And just feeling it right off the bat, it feels really cheap. This pen feels so cheap. Oh my goodness, it feels insanely cheap. It's definitely got a little bit of a, I think, a brush tip or some sort of like nib tip or something like that kind of thing. Like definitely, let's just feel that real quick. Okay, so it's not quite a brush tip, but it's definitely a calligraphy pen, but it's more of a felt tip than anything, I definitely have to say. But yeah, this pen feels insanely cheap. Oh my God, like this feels just as cheap as like a Bic round stick. Where is one of my Bic round sticks? Do I have one over here? I'm not sure. I don't think I do. I don't think I have one right there. But Bic round sticks feel insanely cheap. This feels just as cheap as a Bic round stick. Let me tell y'all what. We can see there is indeed some Japanese on the front of this pen, all in gold on the black plastic that makes up the overall color of this pen. I don't know what this text says. I have absolutely no idea. If you guys know what that says, let me know in the, well, comments down below. But I have absolutely no clue what it says. But, yeah. This pen feels really, really, really cheap. It feels super cheap. The overall look of this pen is cheap, frankly put. We get a basic black cap right here, just really cheap plastic, and just taking it off, you get a little bit of a grip, and not even really a grip. Sorry, it's just actually just plastic. It just kind of dips down just a little bit. So you do kind of get a little bit of a grip or a sort of some sort of ergonomic something, but really not much, frankly put. Yeah, this pen, quality-wise, it's not bad per se when you're rattling it around and everything like that kind of thing. It doesn't actually rattle. It doesn't make any noise or anything like that kind of thing. It's not bad quality. It's just really dang cheap, let me tell y'all what. But overall, the look of this pen, it looks cheap. The overall weight of this pen, I'd have to say it's much lighter than not as a whole. With the cap off, I'd have to say the main weight of the pen is... Oh, where's the main weight of this pen? This is interesting. Okay. So it's not towards the back. So of course with the cap on, the main weight of the pen is very much towards the front, of course. But with the cap off, you put it on the back, so the main weight of the pen is towards the back if you do that. So this is like how you'd want to write with this pen. But with the cap off in general, the pen itself is very, I'd have to say, evenly weighted. It's not really too much weighted towards the front. It's not really too much weighted towards the back either. It's a little bit more evenly weighted than not, which is very interesting. Usually with pens, it's weighted towards the front or towards the back, and there's really no in between. No, this pen is very much just evenly weighted as a whole. It almost comes off like you're drawing with a Sharpie or something like that kind of thing. That's very much how it comes off. Sharpies are a little bit more evenly weighted than not, if you ask me at least, and that's very much what this pen is like as well. And due to kind of like, it's very long as well, so it's just very easy to kind of hold back, and you don't got to worry about it kind of catching or anything like that kind of thing. It's not too short by any means. It's a pretty decent length, maybe a bit too long for some people, but overall, you know, it feels okay in hand. It's a bit thin for my hand, in all honesty. I definitely wouldn't want to grip this pen too tight for too long, but it's not horrible by any means. As said, though, the overall weight of this pen, it's much lighter than not. When you have the cap off, it's much more evenly weighted than not. When you have the cap on the back, it's weighted towards the back. And as a whole, it's a cheap pen, frankly put. It's cheaper than a Sharpie. It's less ergonomic than a Sharpie. And it's supposed to draw. It's supposed to write. It's supposed to do that. It's not supposed to be comfy. And it's really not, in all honesty. But it's also a cheap pen that's sold at 100 yen stores, so who really cares, in all honesty? But, yeah, pretty much quality-wise, ergonomics-wise, meh, it's just okay. Excuse me, it's just a cheap pen. It's like the Bic round stick of cheap pens, or the Bic crystal of Japanese pens. I'm kind of getting the impression, in all honesty, except Bic is actually a brand name. This really has no brand name. But, you know, it's a cheap pen. It's a cheap pen, and I guess it might work. I hope, at least. Meh. Lightweight. Not the greatest quality in the world. Feels cheap. Not a bad weight in hand. And, that's pretty much all there is to it. Looks okay as well. Well, I do suppose without further ado, it's now time for the final test. It's now time for me to go and actually start writing and drawing with this pen for the first time. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and grab my Soho Urban Artist Sketchbook that I have right here. Let's go ahead and just bring my camera down just a little bit, just like that. And now let's go ahead and get my sketchbook all opened up to the nearest open page, if I possibly can. And now that I am there, let's just go ahead and just doodle just a minute, just because there's some areas that bled through onto this page. So let's go ahead, got the cap all off, let's go and put that over to the side. And now, I'm thinking it's time for me to, just draw this. That's not a good sign right off the bat. That is not a good sign. It is already fading right off the bat. This is an unused pen, new in the packaging. And it's already fading. Yeah, that's not very good. That's a sign of quality, frankly put. Yeah, you know, it's a cheap generic 100 yen pen that I did not buy for 100 yen, that I bought for $2.89 Canadian. Yeah. You know, with some force under it, the nib itself is surprisingly malleable. Like, just taking a look at it, you can definitely tell, like, it is surprisingly malleable, for sure. But, yeah, that is not very good. It's already fading, and it is brand spanking new. Now, it could just be this pen. Maybe it just dried out a little bit more so than not. I assume this pen was probably shipped from Japan to Canada, where it then sat on the shelf for who knows how long. So it might be a little bit more dried out than not. But, either way, not very good. Yeah, I can't recommend this pen. I haven't even really drawn with it yet, and I cannot recommend this pen. This pen is horrible, frankly put. Absolutely terrible. Do not buy this pen. If you live in Japan, do not buy this pen. If you visit Japan, do not buy this pen. If you are trying to order a bulk load of Japanese calligraphy pens from Japan to sell in the United States, make sure they're not these before you order them, because this pen sucks. Yeah, not very good. I was not expecting that, Frank. I was really not expecting fading immediately. Immediate fading. I was not expecting that. That's not very good. It's not. And it's not even, like, even fading either. Like, it's horrible. Like, it's now barely writing. Yeah, this is horrible. This is really bad. Okay, so let's talk about things other than the ink fading, though, or the nib not doing its job at all. So I'll acknowledge that the nib itself, it's definitely not a brush tip, but it does have some malleability to it. So you kind of press it down and it kind of goes all sorts of different ways. And so definitely, like, you start off over here, and then you go like that way kind of thing, and you use some force and it goes down, and then you can kind of do like loop-de-loops with some areas that are thicker and some areas that are thinner, because the tip itself has some malleability to it kind of thing, and you can kind of brush it around almost like a brush tip, although it's not really a brush tip, frankly, but it's like a plastic or sort of like felt nib that just so happens to have some malleability to it. That's very much what the nib is like. It's kind of like a semi-brush tip, I'd have to say. The ink itself, when it is dark, it's dark. It doesn't really fade much when it's really dark, but it fades. The ink fades. It sucks. This pen to hold while writing, it's not too bad. Actually, the size actually really does help a decent amount when you're actually writing. Like, just having it be really long, you can kind of hold it a different way than you can with a shorter pen, which is actually something I really appreciate. Yeah, so the ink sucks. The nib is okay. It's very mid. Way worse than something like, let's say, a Kurtak Fugo Koichi, or basically any other Japanese calligraphy pen I've ever used. The ink fades, it fades, and the nib is just okay. Is there anything else to say about how this draws? I don't really like how this draws, but the ink is fading. I mean, like, it would be a lot better if the ink didn't fade. I mean, like, let's just try this real quick. Maybe that'll help just a little bit. Maybe it just needed some more ink in there. No, it's dried out. Frankly put, I don't know if this is really the pen's fault or if it's just the fact that it's been on the shelf for so long, but I think it's a combination of both. For one, the lid probably doesn't have a very good seal. It's a really cheap pen after all. It's not really designed to be used forever. And for two, it was sitting on a shelf more than likely for a very long time, in all honesty. For all I know, this pen is actually 12 years old and they don't even make this pen anymore. I highly doubt that, but that would be amusing. Yeah, let's do an actual drawing with this pen. What do I want to draw? I think I'm going to start off by drawing a fish. I think that's what I'm going to draw initially. So let's go ahead and do that. Start with the jaw, work my way up and over, and there's the tail. We can see it fades pretty unevenly, and it just continues to fade as you continue drawing. It is pretty decent to hold at an angle, but it's also very nice to hold kind of upright as well. Just like that. I mean, like, it's not too bad to hold. Like, actually, if the ink wasn't fading when brand new, I would actually not have bad things to say about this pen besides the fact that it's cheap. Because honestly, it's pretty good to hold at an angle. It's pretty good to hold upright. I like the fact that you can kind of do one angle and then you can kind of go up, and then there's like different angles and like different thicknesses of that. I mean, like, that's a pretty standard thing for like a felt tip that has a little bit of malleability to it, slash like a brush tip and everything like that. But yeah, this pen's brand new and my fish already looks like a ghost. I mean, like, I don't mind this drawing. I like the fact that, I don't mind the fact, I wouldn't say I like, but I don't mind the fact that it's a little bit more faded than not. Excuse me, I had to burp once again. But this is a new pen. This is a new pen and it's doing this. Yeah, let's do another drawing. Let's do another one. I don't mind how that fish looked by any means, but this is a new pen. But I honestly, like holding it and using it. I really don't mind how this pen draws and writes and everything like that. When compared to something like, let's say, a Kurtok Fugo Koichi, or one of my other calligraphy pens from Japan that I've used previously, it's definitely not as good, but those are also more expensive pens. They're, instead of being 100 yen, they're more like, I don't know, $4 or $5 USD, like 600 yen or something like that kind of thing. They are significantly more expensive. So it makes sense for them to be a little bit better to just draw with in general. This is really not so bad to draw with, besides the fact that the ink is fading. Let's go ahead and just keep drawing for a little bit longer. I do think it kind of gives you a little bit of an interesting look, though, especially like when you kind of layer things on. Like, it kind of makes everything look a little bit faded. And just like that, that little bit of a drawing is done. I mean, like, it's okay. Just due to the fact that it's fading so bad, though, everything kind of layers so much that it just doesn't really work for any real sort of drawing, I hate to say. And I'm pretty confident in saying that this pen is not supposed to look like this. It's not supposed to look so faded because, well, the blog I saw from 12 years ago, I posted a photo or two of them, what they did with this calligraphy pen, their calligraphy. They posted a photo of their calligraphy, and everything was very dark. So it was not faded like it is with this pen, this specific example. Let's do one more drawing. Let's do one more drawing. What am I thinking I want to draw this time? I've drawn a fish. I've drawn an anime girl. What do I want to draw this time? I'm going to draw a knife. Yeah, I mean, like, it draws okay. I like how it has different angles, or like there's different consistencies to the line, and as I'm drawing, but the fading. Well, I think I've drawn everything I want to draw. I think I've said everything I want to say, and I'm just going to keep repeating myself if I just keep going with this video. So I'm going to go and kind of just give you guys my final thoughts on this pen. And then after that, I'm going to give it a rating as well. So, what are my final thoughts on this? The supposedly Saiga CFF-200CE, which probably stands for Cheap Edition. The CE at the end probably stands for that. That is. What are my final thoughts on this cheap 100 yen store calligraphy pen from Japan? I don't like it. I like how it feels in hand. I don't mind it. It's a cheap pen, but it feels okay in hand. I don't mind how it draws, besides the fact that the ink is already faded. Yeah, I don't mind the look of the pen. It looks cheap. It's whatever. I don't mind the feel of the pen. It's cheap. It's whatever. Don't mind the look of the pen. It's cheap. It's whatever. Don't mind how it fits in my hand. I actually don't mind that one bit. I like the malleable tip. I like the felt tip. It's malleable. It's really nice. The ink sucks. The tip, it's not giving me a good... the ink is fading. This feels like a 6-month-old Sharpie, and it's brand new. Yeah, I can't give this a good rating. So my rating scale for calligraphy pens and for just stationery in general goes from 1 to 4. And for context, my 1 to 4 rating scale goes from 1 to 4, with 1 being like, this is horrible, never buy this, 2 being like, it's not to my preference, but it works, and might be to what some people like. A 3 out of 4 is like, this is pretty good, but it's not like the best thing ever. And a 4 out of 4 is like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever. A 4 out of 4 for me is like a Pilot G2, or like, let's say a Kurtok Food Gokoichi. I really like those. They're really nice. This is a 1 out of 4. Yeah, I don't think I've ever given a single pen a 1 out of 4. I don't think I ever have. I've kind of been like, I don't know if I've ever given one a 2 out of 4, but I've thought about it. But this is 1 out of 4. 1 out of 4. This pen sucks. It's so bad. It's not even because of the construction of this pen. It's not even because of how the nib feels or how it is held in my hands. Those are all things I can get over. I cannot get over the fact that this is dried out before I ever used it. It's just a bad design. For the cap to let the nib dry out and the ink dry out before you even use it is a bad design. And I cannot ignore bad designs. I can't. And that's why this pen is getting a 1 out of 4. I might use this pen if I want to draw little ghost creatures in the future. That's about it, though. That's about it, frankly put. And, yeah, I really don't have too many plans to use this pen in the future, frankly put. Yeah. Well, I certainly hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video about my new Japanese calligraphy pen and about drawing with my new Japanese calligraphy pen. I'll admit, I am a little bit more disappointed than not. I am. I was really hoping for a good pen. No, not a good pen. Thankfully, I've got this pen right here to save the day in the future. I'm sure this pen will probably be a little bit better than this one because this is a Kurtok. Not a Kurtok Food Gokoichi, but it's a Kurtok. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be better, but who knows? Who knows? Hopefully that pen saves the day, but right now, I'm disappointed to say the least. Well, I think that's pretty much all I had to say about this pen and for this review. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys have ever used one of these pens before. Did you guys have a different experience than me? Did you guys have the same experience than me? And let me know if you guys have just in general ever heard of this pen right here. Let me know in the comments down below. And of course, as well, please make sure to like and subscribe for more content. I have my Instagram, my book, my merch, my P.O. Box, and my main channel all in the description down below. Go check it all out. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I certainly hope you guys have enjoyed watching. And till the next one, stay safe and peace, and have a great one. Yes, sir, I'm saying.